Hi there, my name is Jeff Evely. I'm the Ops Sgt-Maj for Veterans for Freedom. I have a few guests here back with me now to discuss a little bit more chatter around the subject of Marcus Ray and a couple of developments on that front going around the activist ecosystem right now. So as everybody is aware, we have some concerns around this, and this is going to be kind of a reiteration of that, I think, but we're going to hear from everybody and dive into it real good here. So I have Saxon Murray with me here, and Tom Morazzo, and also our intelligence officer, Tom Quiggin. And I'm just going to start things off, guys, try to prime it up a little bit, give everybody the background of what we're seeing out there. Okay. So this is the post that I'm seeing going around social media. I'm sure you guys have seen it as well.
Yeah.
It says, from Marcus. Hello. On this final tour, we'll be exposing the plan in its entirety. I'm going to give you a quick rundown so you have the information. On Friday, September 9, a convoy from the east will arrive in Manitoba at a selected destination where they will wait for the orders. Also on same day, a convoy will arrive from the west and form in Alberta at another location and await orders. On the morning of Sunday, September 11, the convoys will leave their muster points and converge on the RCMP training depot in Regina. This is where Canada will make its stand. We will be requesting that the RCMP take our evidence, our testimonies, our affidavits, and proceed to arrest those who have committed crimes against the people of Canada. It is our intention that we will hold our ground peacefully until our request is met. Simultaneously, across Canada, in every town and city, we have groups of freedom leaders banding their people together to do the exact same thing at all RCMP municipal police stations. This is the most peaceful way we can devise to bring justice to our Canadian patriots. Since Canada is in a state of emergency, it's time to call 911. We have chosen to do this on 911. Accompanying me across Canada from the west is David Adams, a common law representative. Joining me across Canada in the east will be Christopher James, a common law expert. On September 11th in Regina, Christopher James will requisition a courtroom, and the judge and the truth will be exposed. This is Canada's only hope. If we cannot convince our law enforcement to help us in our pursuit of justice, then we can never win back the freedom of Canada. There is no other freedom group in the country ready to take action. This will be our only attempt. God bless us all. We are going to need it. I think I want to hear from Tom Morazzo on this one because he had kind of an interesting take on it. I just want to say that this is terrible punctuation, and I got really messed up. Where was the word? They had the wrong. Leaders banding their people together. Shouldn't it be banding?
Yeah. Well, you haven't seen my writing then. So I'm not touching that one. I'm not touching that one.
It's much better than this. But,
okay. Okay, good. Thank you.
But anyway, Tom, go ahead, man. I just thought I'd let you start.
So, several people sent it to me over the last 2 days because there's a video that goes with this as well. And, initially I just really didn't want to look at it because, yes, this is the one here. I didn't want to look at it. But so many people sent it to me, so I thought, okay, this is obviously got everybody's attention, so it deserves to be looked at, right? I gotta say, I watched the video this morning, and I'm very, very right down the middle on this. And initially, I know, and I don't want to come off as being wishy-washy because we've come out many times, obviously, and we've spoken about, Marcus. I've been attacked personally on many different social media platforms because of the fact that we're not supporting Marcus, because of, the earlier things that he had done. But here's the big question for me. Okay, in principle, I like the idea that they've got all this evidence. I like that they're going to organize. I like that they're protesting. I like that where they're going to take it. But what I don't like about it is what is the or else? You're going to do what I want or else. That's the part that really concerns me. because if you look at that written text, there's some very mixed messages or contradictory language in there that says, we're peaceful, we're peaceful, we're peaceful, but we're going to charge people. We're going to use a form of law and common law, and I know enough about common law to be really dangerous. So I want to stay away from that because I'm by no means an expert. But what's really important is that the court system in Canada is by no means an expert. None of the lawyers are experts in common law. So how are you going to apply? Let's suppose you do acquisition a courtroom. Where are you going to get a judge? How are you going to apply a system of law in this country that is not recognized by the government of Canada or by the judiciary, and then try to actually execute some sort of a punishment against law enforcement for not abiding by a legal system that they're not even agreeing with? So there's just too much contradictory things there. There's just too many things that are diametrically opposed.
I've kind of asked, like, I don't understand why we believe, or why we should believe, that invoking common law to the RCMP is going to be any more effective than invoking the current Constitution.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, I just don't get the appeal for this, like, in its right from its inception, in principle.
And we get this question all the time about common law, about the Charter, the Bill of Rights, the Magna Carta. You get all of these different things, and it comes down to this. And I think we talked about this last time. It does not matter in any way, shape, or form what framework of government that you have if the government and if the law enforcement in this country don't uphold it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter, right? And our RCMP, our government have for 2.5 years completely disregarded the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. So what makes anyone think that they're going to go there? Literally, they're going to stand on the footsteps of a beehive, okay, which is the RCMP depot. And they think that they're going to get a better result than what they got in Ottawa in February. This is where I'm really concerned about it, because I'm afraid people are going to get hurt. So let me just say that I think, in principle, I like that they're mobilizing. They want to take substantial steps. They want to see results. Yeah. But I'm just wondering about what's the or else? That's the part that concerns me. What if they don't get their way?
All I'm really seeing is their, let's just looking at it there. It says, evidence and testimonies. It is our intention that we will hold our ground peacefully until our request is met. Well, isn't that what we did in Ottawa?
Yeah, that's exactly what we did in Ottawa.
Okay, just checking.
And by the way,
Dax, sorry. Go ahead.
If you look at that in Ottawa, what we've now learned through these other inquiries that have been happening, and there will be more in the fall. And I know myself and Danny and a bunch, I think, Tom, you'll be testifying at the public inquiry for the Emergency Act, or the use of the Emergency Act. So, the police have come out, every police force that participated said, we never asked for the Emergency Act. So then where did the police get their authority to go and do what they did? On whose orders did they do what they did? Based on the government's orders directing police operations under the Emergency Act. So what is going to happen when people show up on the doorstep of the RCMP? Right. They've come out and said, we already had the powers to deal with this within our own police powers under the police. I think the police, no, not the Police Services Act, but basically under the criminal code, they already had the power to deal with the convoy in February. Yeah. But then they just disregarded everything and went straight for the nuclear option. What's their response going to be?
I don't know. I'm just going to throw this out there because I always kind of like to, be that 10th man or whatever. But I think that might be a red herring. I don't know, this whole inquiry into the Emergencies Act, because didn't Doug Ford invoke the Provincial Emergencies Act? And
The city did, then Doug Ford did, and then
yeah,
they went to the Emergency Act for parking violations.
right. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, like, if it wasn't the federal one, then couldn't those other police forces just conduct those operations under the auspices of the Provincial Emergencies Act?
Yeah, they all came out and said that they didn't need any special powers to do it. They just needed manpower. They
Yeah.
needed 1,800 or 1,600 officers extra. That's what they were asking for. They weren't asking for special powers.
Right. Yeah, and I think I thought there was something about the Emergencies Act gave them the power to conscript the tow truck drivers or something like that. But
Yeah.
anyway, it was a bunch of BS.
Yes.
But I think I wanted to get Saxon there on this one too, because I think he's had a little more experience in the social media and whatnot with this topic here, and I know you're pretty passionate about it, bro. So, what are your thoughts?
Well, to me, if I was a betting man, it seems like it's the same plan as the old plan. He just gussied up his language a little bit here. And what we do know, well, what he has that's been in an email that's been floating around in some places, is he admits that he was arrested previously by INSET, which is RCMP. And now he has new language he's coming out with where he's much more on the peaceful side of things, which we saw once we started to call him out. He did change his language a little bit previously. Yeah. And to me, it's the same thing as before. Get a group of people en masse in an area. He's picked the date 9/11, which a lot of people are going to be like, oh, that's a terrorist date. So we could see it as any other way and could rightfully say, yeah, 9/11, 9/11. For sure, I can understand that. But a lot of people are going to jump on, oh, 9/11, Twin Towers, planes flying into buildings and things like that. To me, it doesn't give me a warm and fuzzy that much has changed. It just seems to me that now he's using less incendiary language, and he's still trying to get a mass of people in an area where they can look at the movement and say, look, we have a bunch of convoys, because he's using the word convoys now, which we can see in the media. Like the other day, there was an article put out saying Freedom Convoy is going to protest the Pope's apology to First Nations over the residential schools, which didn't happen. But if you can put Freedom Convoy anywhere, it instantly gets people's level up. People will start to think, or the people who want to think this way anyways, will have no problem thinking, oh, it's just a bunch of those terroristic, troublemaking Canadians, quote unquote, as they like to see us, causing problems again. And bing, bang, boom, it's going to be exactly what Justin Trudeau wants. He'll pull the lever, and all of us across Canada will have another eye looking even harder on us, maybe even getting arrested, more leeway into saying these are terrorist groups that are pursuing the freedom movement and pursuing freedom. So to me, it seems like the exact same plan as before, get a bunch of people en masse, one place. The one thing that I will say that Tom might even be thinking too, or at least looking at as like the reasonable thing, the part where he talks about going to different municipal RCMP HQs with evidence, like, okay, that seems reasonable to me, but you don't need masses of people to go do that either. So like if you want to get something done, that seems okay to me. But I think the whole idea of having a convoy from the east, a convoy from the west, putting all this out with dates, that doesn't seem like a great idea to me as well. If you're trying to keep this from getting a lot of traction on the police airways, giving them all the dates in your plan isn't what you want to do either. So to me, this seems like another mess to get a bunch of people who are downtrodden, looking for some hope and looking for a way out of this mess, to get behind something which isn't going to work and it's just going to get us all targeted. So I've said it all before in previous videos. I know we've all kind of said these things, but this guy is not to be trusted at all. And I'm sure Tom Quicken can probably reemphasize why that is the case.
Yeah, that sounds like the talking pillow is now yours. Tom, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll be a lot less polite than Tom Marazzo. I know he's a much politer guy than I am, and a little more balanced in his approach or whatever. So let's look at Marcus Ray, or Marcus Chilcott, or whatever we're supposed to call the guy this week. He's a lifelong fraud artist. He's a con man. He steals money from old ladies, and I don't mean that in a sarcastic or pejorative kind of way. I mean that in a BC Superior Court kind of way, that he was convicted of stealing money from some poor old lady who was on her deathbed, and he managed to scam her out of a couple $100,000. And Jeff put up the other thing there. He's also had 24 other court appearances that I can find in British Columbia. One was for a divorce. So let's say, okay, that's fine. We're not going to question him on that one. That's his personal business. But the rest of them were all claims courts. He didn't pay money. He ripped off somebody. He ran off with somebody's money. So he is a lifelong con artist. That's what the man is. And as Saxon mentioned, there's a lot of people out there right now who are in pain. They're suffering. You know, gas is popping around $2 a liter someplace. Eggs are $5 a dozen. Boneless, skinless chicken breasts are like $20 a kilo. The government has run the politics of division against this in a horrible kind of way. People are desperate. People are looking for a future. They're looking for a savior. And unfortunately, once again, here's Marcus Ray for the third time in this continuous sort of operation. He's promising a plan, you know, and it's just off in the future. It's just a month and a half away. And this time it's going to be real big. So my thing is, I doubt there's a convoy in the East. I don't think it exists. I doubt there's a convoy in the West. I don't think it exists. He chose Manitoba as the meeting point, which is, you know, fine. It's kind of in the geographic center of the country or whatever, but, you know, it's not Toronto. It's not the financial capital. It's not Ottawa, which is the political capital. If you're looking to have an impact, I'm not sure Camp Hope in Manitoba is the place to do it. I'm guessing the sort of the flim flam or the fraud around this is based on the idea that the natives are active in Manitoba right now. They're trying to force the provincial government to taking them more seriously on a number of issues. So I'm guessing that's why he chose Manitoba. But yeah, I don't think there's two convoys. I don't think there's going to be a meeting. This business where he's going to requisition a courtroom. What is this? Like it's the military. You go in and you requisition, you know, 5 MREs or something like this. No, I mean, you don't requisition a courtroom. What he's talking about, I mean, if you're going to try and take him seriously at all, he's talking about taking over a courtroom at gunpoint and then sticking a judge in a chair and expecting the judge in one day to hear, you know, crimes against Canada from all this mystical evidence they've got. So my sense is it's a continuation of the scam. We exposed him last time and it kind of drove people off. Other folks have exposed him in the past when he tried to get into the BC Conservative Party. And I think we're doing the same thing here again. We're just warning people saying, look, it's a scam. It's not going anywhere. This is about Marcus Ray. It's about his ego. It's about his trying to get money for himself. And unfortunately, as Saxon so correctly pointed out, that if he gets anything at all, if he's able to sucker a few people into showing up at some event and it turns violent in any way, shape, or form, Marcus Ray is essentially gift wrapping the narrative for the government, handing them the excuse to increase the surveillance, handing them an excuse to go after anybody at a time when we've got more than enough problems with this sort of thing. So yeah, Marcus Ray, don't believe me. Don't listen to anything I say. Go into the BC court system online, look up his name in the court system and see what this guy is. End of the day, he's a con man. And this is just an extension of a 20-long-year series of cons designed to put him at front. Now, to his credit, and I will say this, he's a great public speaker. He is great at hitting people's emotions. He is great at drawing in a crowd, and he's great at getting people to think that Marcus Ray actually cares about their future. Unfortunately, like we said, you know, look at the history. It's just a whole series of court appearances where he robs people, basically. So, yeah, that's my thing. I think the whole thing's just a continuing scam, and here we are again, unfortunately, being involved in this guy. So the other kind of thought is, and I'm not going to get into this, but I know there's some people believe that Marcus Ray is a genuine guy. Other people like me think he's a scam artist. Other people think he is so incredibly outlandish as what he's doing that only a government agent could, you know, be doing something as silly as this. And what it is, and it's an attempt to draw people out and see who will rise to his bait. And then that gives the government more targets to go after. Whatever this guy's doing, it ain't helping, Jeff.
No, I don't believe so. And I did a couple of videos, and I'm always kind of plugging this idea that he could be a kind of agent provocateur there for a false flag. And I think that's kind of the term that we haven't hit on just yet. But yeah, drawing everybody into one place, putting in their some of their own provocateurs in the crowd to stir up a little outrage, amongst a group of people that are already very emotional. Just get a little bit of pushback, whatever it takes, and then you have a violent crackdown. And as Sax pointed out, they're gift wrapping the narrative, going with that 9/11 date and everything. So, I mean, that's the first thing I think of when somebody says 9/11 is I think of a terrorist attack. And the Benghazi attack was also on 9/11. So that seems to be more Al-Qaeda's brand than any movement that I want to get on board with. But I'm glad that you hit on, the way that he talks, because that's kind of what gets me. And I'm not, the one that has the intelligence background or anything like that. I'm just kind of, a low BS kind of guy. And I get that when I hear him talk, is that it's just, well, you tell me. I'm going to play a clip. I'll play about a minute or something like that. And, I'll leave myself in the safekeeping of our audience here. You tell me, is this guy genuine, or is he just kind of saying what he thinks everybody wants to hear?
Do you guys have sound coming on your end?
Do you not have that?
No sound.
Oh, God. All right.
Anyway, I just while you're working with the sound there, Jeff, I think bottom line, the picture by itself, to me, one picture's worth 1,000 words kind of thing. There he is with his black hat on and his black T-shirt and his leather jacket. Look at me, I'm a cowboy rancher. So let's do a quick review. He's got a book out there where he actually claims to have been a male stripper for a bunch of years, which I find kind of amusing. He was also involved in the furniture business for a bunch of years. He says he was also in the design business for a while. He claims he's ex-police, although we can't really seem to track that down. And Police on Guard say that that's a complete fraud. He was never a peace officer. He claims he was a police diver, like a rescue diver or something like that. Now he says he's the Canadian representative for the Constitutional Sheriff's Association. The only problem is we checked with the Constitutional Sheriff's Association in the United States, and they said, never heard of the guy, don't know anything about it, and we wouldn't have a Canadian chapter anyway, like we just wouldn't do it. And his last video that he came out with in the spring there at some point, it's like, well, here I am up on the ranch with a bunch of the boys, and we're going to get the constitutional sheriffs together. And I thought you were a stripper, dude. Like, what happened to your rancher all of a sudden? And by the way, your ranch doesn't really exist. And this so-called Freedom City that you're building is another scam. So when I see him with that hat on, all I can think of is Bush's famous statement or whatever about all hat and no cattle. That's Rancher Marcus Ray. So yeah, just that one image of him with the cowboy hat to me kind of blows the whole issue away.
All right, I'm going to try this one more time.
In Victoria, I told people, as freedom fighters, you are connected across Canada to 10 million people. I'm happy to say that my conversation last night with a gentleman who's connected across Canada with all the freedom groups actually corrected me and said we're closer to 11 million now. We've got a group of people, and it's not a small group of people, that are willing to stand for your rights and the rights of your kids. We've got a group of people that are willing to put everything on the line for that result. Everything. And you know what I mean by everything. Because we're at that point now. We're at that point where we have peacefully protested. Dave and I were in Ottawa. We were peaceful. As the bear spray was going over our heads, horses were running people down. They were rifle fighting veterans. We were still peaceful. When we walked away, we learned something, Dave and I, from that. We learned. We watched the way that they acted. We watched the way that they committed violence against Canadian citizens. And we knew the peaceful protests, one day, were going to come to an end. And sooner or later, you've got to stand. And you've got to stand and not back up no matter what they said. Am I right? Something is happening, and I'm going to get...
All right. I think that's enough of that guy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's kind of what I started off saying there was, you tell me, does it sound like this is, you know, a serious guy with 11 million people backing him? Or is he just kind of saying what everybody wants to hear?
Well, I'd love to know how he got 30% of the country's population in that short of a time without anybody noticing.
Yeah. And if he's not a Fed or some kind of a CI or whatever, he's completely infiltrated by the Feds at this point.
Yeah,
wouldn't
absolutely.
he have to be, right? Yeah. Like whether he's a con man or whether he's really working with the Feds, the result is going to be the same in the end. Like you're getting arrested, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
The other thing I thought was amusing from that speech, he goes, when we were in Ottawa, we saw this, and Dave and I did that, and we saw that. And it's like, what's this we stuff? I'm sorry. I mean, I talked to Danny Bulford. I've talked to Tom Marazzo before. I've talked with you, Jeff. I've talked to everybody I can think of in the convoy and said, did you ever see this guy, hear this guy in Ottawa? Did he do anything? Bottom line, he was never at the Ark Hotel because I was there most of the time. He wasn't there. Danny Bulford says he wasn't at the Swiss Hotel. Nobody saw him at the Sheraton Hotel. He played no role whatsoever in that entire convoy. There's one picture of him where it's kind of like there he is smiling with somebody. You can see a bunch of trucks in the background, and that sort of seems to be it. So yeah, it's like me saying, I was in the Netherlands and we did this and we did that. And it's like, yeah, no, it's just nonsense. He didn't play a role in the convoy. He's not playing a role in any organization since then. And to me, it's just another in a great, big, long series of cons. But as I said, credit to the guy. He's a great speaker. He's very emotive. He can attach emotion to people. So there was another video he did. He's up on a trailer and there's a crowd there. And he starts out by saying, I'm here because a child died. And you're kind of like, oh, my God. And it's just like it's very emotive, very effective. And he draws people in like that. And he's the perfect con guy. He's just so honest, so sincere, so good at it. And it's not hard to tell how he wound up in court 24 times for taking people's money and not delivering anything. So
Tom actually brought up an interesting thing I kind of want to pick away at a little bit. And let's just think about the practicalities of what is being proposed. Okay. You're going to give people a secret code word. They're going to await their instructions. People are going to respond to these instructions and arrive somewhere. And then public officials and police are going to be rounded up and arrested. And where are they going to be held? All of this information is going to be presented to some sort of a kangaroo court. And those prisoners are going to be kept out in a truck? Like are they going to put those prisoners in a shipping container until they go and testify in front of a common law? Like I know I'm exaggerating the absurd, but it's absurd. Okay. I have to admit, in principle, it's a great idea. Are we there yet? Are we to that level of extreme yet in this country? No, I really don't think so. Am I concerned about the fall? I absolutely am. And Jeff, you and I talked about that offline. I'm very concerned about what's going on in the fall, but it isn't because of Marcus Ray. I just, I look at the practicality of what is being proposed. And I have to say, like, I'm coming out more on the side of this is just absolutely absurd and has no hope in hell of achieving anything other than people getting hurt.
Yeah, I tend to agree, Tom. Like, I don't know. Here's something I noticed. Here's a comment we got. You guys have a better idea? I'd love to hear it. And I guess the only thing that I would say to that is, like, just take the good and leave the bad. Like, they're talking about filing some paperwork and stuff like that. Go ahead and file your paperwork. Avail yourselves of whatever complaints processes are there, and file your appeals, and just be a real pain in the ass. And if everybody does that, and it puts a strain on the system and hopefully wakes some people up that are working in there that are pretty clearly in the bubble, then I think that in the end that's essentially what we're going for, and it mitigates all that risk of everybody getting thrown in jail or killed. So
Yeah.
I see whoever that is, Mr. Peach. I'm going to take a wild guess here and say that's not his real name. So I kind of, if people don't put the real names there, I have a harder time taking them seriously. But okay, so let's take the question seriously. Do you guys have a better idea? Yeah. First off, we're actually here discussing this stuff. That's important. We had the convoy. That was important. It got people moving. It got them out there. We had the Rolling Thunder thing. We had Off Dignity. We had the recent Dutch farmers protest. And every time you get another protest that goes out there that is peaceful and it succeeds in getting folks out, getting them motivated, getting them interested, that is the system working. And I can tell, like I was in Ottawa for the recent, was it a week ago, for the protest in support of the Dutch farmers. And I was walking along with my little Veterans for Freedom t-shirt on. And we didn't organize that. We weren't a part of it. I just went down to have a look. And the next thing I know, the Ottawa police liaison right over to see me. Who's in charge? Who's running it? How about, are they going to be here? What's happening? And I thought to myself, yeah, we're having an impact on these guys. They are genuinely concerned about what's going on. They're digging for information. They're worried. And to me, that is a good thing. If the government's starting to worry about this kind of movement, that's good. They're starting to pay attention. Look at our colleagues in the Netherlands. There's a bunch of folks out there protesting. They've got the attention of the government, and they've been doing it for a few weeks now. Other countries, it's happening. It's going on in Peru. It's going on in Argentina. It's going on in Italy. They had a little discussion in Sri Lanka, much the same thing, and they chased the president out of town there, literally chased him out of town. Not suggesting to go down that route, but point being is, if you go back and look, what was it, 10 years ago, we had the Arab Spring, where one guy in a market in Tunisia who was just so frustrated and full of pain and sorrow actually set himself on fire as a form of protest against the government. And I don't know what he was hoping to do. Obviously, he's hoping to draw attention to the problem, but the guy unleashed a series of revolutions across a bunch of countries. So right now, I would suggest to you that between the economy, between the supposed nitrogen tax or whatever it's going to be, so we've got a carbon tax. Now we're going to have a nitrogen tax on farmer. With all of these things going on, people are waking up. They are coming out into the streets. They are protesting. We're here having this discussion. Marcus Ray is doing his thing, as counterproductive as I think it is. But nonetheless, he's out there doing something. So, yeah. So my sense is, yeah, we are doing something. We are moving in the right direction. Keep it between the lines. Keep it going. And my read on the government, having lived in Ottawa for 30 years, having I'm ex-PCO, ex-RCMP, ex-Central Bank, ex-military, all this stuff, my read on this right now is the government's getting genuinely worried about what's going on, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a matter of keeping up the right kind of pressure, I think, Tom. And I'm glad you pointed out the farmer movement there too, those convoys, because we have been supporting those, and you mentioned our colleagues in the Netherlands, and I think that that serves as a pretty good compare and contrast for anybody who's always wondering, like, what are you guys doing? Why are you just bashing on Marcus Ray? Well, like, it's not a matter of I don't know, competing with him or anything like that. We just have genuine concerns here, and we have supported plenty of other events and movements up to this point. And we're going to continue to do that. That's the whole raison d'etre, essentially, for Veterans for Freedom. But this one here is just a matter of kind of cleaning up the ranks, I think.
Yeah.
On kind of what Tom was saying, like it was bang on, because from the beginning, there were the people who at the very beginning, like, I'm not getting vaccinated, I'm not following these mandates, this and that. And that was basically the critical mass of people who were awake at that time. Then we had the convoy. The convoy came and the police trampled people. The Emergency Act came in. A lot of Canadians started to question what was going on. That woke up more people. Our protest itself didn't do anything other than draw out the people who already existed to show up in Ottawa. Once the government acted on that, other Canadians are like, oh, what's going on here? And that pulled more people in. Then we had the same thing happen with James Top. More people are paying attention to that. So the more with Tamara, sorry, not James Top, with what just recently happened with Tamara, more people are going to see more government overreach, more government corruption, and that's pulling people out. We ourselves, we don't really have to do anything. We've already been around paying attention. It's other people have to start paying attention. And when people start to pay attention, then things start moving our way. What Marcus Ray's trying to do is he's trying to do his own thing to bring a bunch of people in, which isn't necessarily going to work in my mind, because the whole success of this has been due to government corruption. The more the government does, the more people we pull into our ranks. So to me, it seems it's pretty easy. We just let the government keep doing what they're doing, really. Unfortunate as it is to say.
Yeah, never interrupt your enemy when they're making a mistake.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just one more thing, Jeff. I was reading. I just started reading through the comments while you were talking there, Saxon, and a lot of comments on this and that. And there was one sort of fairly extended comment from Kathy. I won't give the rest of her name. About, Marcus Ray is genuine, and I heard him speak once, and he's a really good guy. So let me just say one more thing. Go into the Supreme Court of BC, look up the case that is under the name of Marcus Chilcott or Marcus Ray. It's dated 20th of June, 2017, where he robbed an old lady of $195,000 on her deathbed. He steals money from sick old ladies. That's what he is. That's the guy. Now, I did see a couple more interesting comments on there from people saying, well, people aren't hungry enough yet. When the hunger starts, it's going to get more interesting. And I agree. There was another comment in there that says, it's not a recession you're talking about. It's a depression. So as the ex operational risk manager for the Central Bank of Canada, a role I had a few years back, something I don't tell a lot of people about because whatever. Anyway, let me say this. You're correct. I think it's going to be a recession to start with. And right now, America is technically in a recession and we're right behind them. It will then turn into a depression, i.e. an extended recession that goes on for an extended period of time with high unemployment. Technically becomes a depression, as this person points out. But I think what's really important to watch is we're probably going to see after that what's called a sovereign debt crisis. And what that basically means is a bunch of countries out there, and that means Europe and potentially North America, some of the governments will actually go broke. They won't be able to borrow money from investors anymore. They won't be able to sell bonds anymore, because the people who are in the business of buying government bonds and investing billions of dollars in long-term government bonds are going to look at the governments and go, you guys are morons. You can't handle your economy. We're not going to lend you money because we think we're just going to lose it. So yeah, there is going to be a recession. It's occurring now. It may very well be followed by a depression. And the real fear here in the long run is a sovereign debt crisis. And my friends, my former colleagues in the central bank system that I still talk to, especially in Europe, their optimistic view on this is this recession depression will take 3 to 5 years to straighten itself out. And those are the screaming optimists. The folks who are kind of more hardcore and more realist and looking at the current war with Russia and Ukraine are saying we're looking at more a 7 to 10 year recovery cycle. So yeah, just don't want to be overly depressing here on a holiday weekend, but yeah, we are looking at an extended period of very hard times. And I think this does not speak well for social stability and for peace in a lot of countries around the world. So thanks for your comment there on about the recession depression. I think you're onto something there. And this is something we're going to talk, Jeff and I are going to do some more on this later.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Tom. It's I really hope people are getting ready. I know a lot of people are still asleep, and I just I don't know what to tell you there, but I really hope people are preparing for what's coming. I'll give you
I
one more. Go ahead.
sorry. I did Jeff, that conversation you and I had the other day. I did prepare the video today. I'm gonna hopefully put it up there onto the channel
Yeah.
tonight, and I'm talking about a lot of the things about maybe what people should start paying attention to as well. It's based off of a lot of stuff we've all talked about before, but Jordan Peterson thing, and also the video that is going to come out that Drew did on 5th generation warfare. So, one of the things, I just wanted to talk about that comment about, what is Veterans for Freedom doing? We're doing these podcasts almost every day. Like, I don't do them, Jeff, they're yours, and Tom and stuff, but I come on as a guest. We do interviews. We share as much information that we can give to the public to help them with their knowledge, because this is what we used to do for a living, is we looked at things like this, and we use our professional, expertise or whatever to analyze what's going on in current events. And we're trying to educate the public, to help the public. We can't give the public a plan of action to follow, but we can give you something really strong to think about. And, we've had all these big events, the Rolling Thunder and all. I ran in the election because I wanted to do something which was fully supported by Veterans for Freedom, and, we are active. We are out there every day doing stuff to educate the public the best that we possibly can, to inspire people to, and I think one of the comments were just stop complying.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. And Jeff, you got one of the best examples of with your bail conditions after the convoy, of not complying. I mean, it costs you. And this is something that people don't understand. It has cost us, all of us, dearly, through either arrests, pending charges, loss of relationships, loss of all of our savings. It has cost each and every one of us in Veterans for Freedom and other organizations out there. I know, because I talked to the different groups. This is not, we could all literally, every one of us, just walk away from this, stick our head in the sand, go get jobs, and focus on just that. But I would argue that we have consistently been consistent on how much we're willing to do to keep pushing back against this government in the best way that we think we can and know how. So we're not sitting around with our thumbs up our asses. We're actually out there trying to do the best we can for the public.
I don't know how I ever had time for a career, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I just retired like last September. I don't think I've ever been so busy.
Yeah.
Just reading through the comments, Jeff, I see a few more people saying the same thing. What are you doing? Tom just answered part of it. The other thing is the James Top March. James Top is doing that. Canada March is doing that. But Veterans for Freedom has put a ton of background into that. We've done a lot of background intelligence forum, fundraising, logistics, organization, all that sort of stuff. And I think another thing that was accomplished by James Top and by V4F was that 22-kilometer long march into Ottawa when James Top arrived in Ottawa. And when I was right at the front, I was in about the 3rd or 4th rank back. And when I turned around, the column behind us of people marching was over 1 kilometer long, and it went all the way down Colonel By around the corner. So as we were arriving at the War Memorial, there were still people at the University of Ottawa, and we filled that entire War Memorial Square area. And if you noticed, sitting on top of that whole thing was a big old drone, and that's the Ottawa police drone. And guess what? They're watching it. And what they saw was an entire column of people, several thousand people long. The square was packed with people, a few more thousand, and every one of them peaceful, every one of them well-behaved, and every one of them taking James Top's message. And part of James Top's message is something we should repeat here: be your own hero. Don't sit there and say, what is that other guy doing? How come you guys aren't doing something? His message is, you're the hero, you're the guy, get out there and do it. So just to sort of follow up on that, and my kind of like parting shot at this is, people blame Justin Trudeau for this, and they blame Christy Freeland, and they blame the economy. And yeah, you know what? You're right to a certain degree. Trudeau has not been a help to the country. I wish he'd go to the Caribbean island and like stay there and never come back. But whose fault is it? It's our fault. We didn't vote. We didn't get out there and act. We didn't resist. We didn't question the government when it did SNC Lavalin. Nobody questioned the government when they fired our first Indigenous justice minister for, oh yeah, following the law. We didn't question when other people got fired. And then people only started to question it when the truckers finally stood up and said, look, folks, enough. So if you want to blame somebody for the mess the country is in, let's blame ourselves for having allowed this to happen. And let's listen to James Topp when he says, be your own hero. Get out there and do something. Send an email to your member of parliament. Go to a protest. Donate some money to a charity that's actually doing something good for a change. Get out there and do it. It's your fault. It's your problem. So when people are saying, why isn't V4F doing something? My response is, so what are you doing? Come on out and join us. Go and join James Topp. Go to your local charity. Help feed some local homeless people. Join a political association. Put pressure on your city council, your school board, whatever. Get out there and do it. And that's what we're doing. And just not to get too far into blowing our own horn here, but V4F doesn't want to be a leadership group. We don't want to lead the protests. We don't want to lead all this stuff. We want to support other people. We want to provide logistics. We want to provide skills. We want to provide fundraising capability. Military guys have a ton of weird skills. Logistics, organization, travel, time, all this kind of stuff. We're good at this stuff. And we want V4F to support other people so they can do their social activity even better. So yeah, so is V4F doing something? Damn straight we are. We're backing a lot of other folks. So get on board, join us, help us out, support us, or go form your own group and we'll support you.
Thanks, Sal. I think that was really great. It's like
bit of a rant.
We're really more facilitators, I think, than leaders, right? Like I think that's what we're going for here. Is we're trying to facilitate everybody else's tasks. I'll just pile on to what Tom Marazzo was saying before too about James Topp's message, which I really like as well. You know, about how it's about having courage, and he's just sort of set that example and say, like, look, guys, this isn't rocket surgery. Like this is something that everybody can do, and nobody's coming to save us. That's the big thing here. We got to do it ourselves. And I think that a lot of people out there in the freedom movement, and I know that, hope is in short supply these days. So they're always looking to kind of grab onto something, but that just makes them vulnerable. So now is a good time to be vigilant about that kind of thing. But yeah, it is a matter of getting everybody active. And Tom Marazzo, you mentioned it as well. I think the way out of this is to stop complying, to stop boosting. First and foremost, everybody's got to stop boosting and get that Omicron or whatever it is now, and then we're done, right? But the more they keep boosting, the further back they kick the can down the road, and the more they're going to be hyping whatever these other health problems that are coming out right now. So who knows? But before I play this, anybody else got something on that before I play this next video here? It's the last one. All right. So this is very recent as well. This is Awake Canada, and they've been supportive of Marcus in the past and sort of expanding a little bit on what I think the plans are here. So I just thought I'd give you a little taste. I'm not going to play a lot, but here you go.
On September 11th, we have a plan. There will be a convoy coming out of the East Coast, and it will meet at a muster point in Manitoba. Accompanying that convoy will be Christopher James, a common law expert. He will be requisitioning a court to present the evidence of the crimes that are being committed. From the west, we have a convoy stopping at a muster point in Alberta. These convoys will be the largest convoys Canada has ever seen. This will happen on September 9th. They will await the orders on the morning of September 11th. 9/11. 9/11. Canada.
Okay, it goes on from there. What do you think, guys? Who wants that one first?
If that was the opening scene of a Hollywood movie, I think it was great.
Yeah.
We're going to have a convoy. It's going to be the most beautiful convoy ever. It's going to be the biggest convoy ever. It's utter nonsense. I'm sorry. There's no convoy in the East. There's no convoy in the West. The convoy thing was great. It did its thing. It got us on the world scene. 1 billion people watched that convoy around the world, and it worked. So all he's doing is kind of grifting off the convoy, grifting off the pain of everybody that suffered with that in minus 20-degree weather. And yeah, it's just a great line for an opening movie, except it's fake.
Yeah, I really dig the soundtrack there. You know, it's
9/11, 9/11. Oh, how dramatic! I'm so impressed. What does 9/11 have to do with any of this? Like, there's just nothing to it other than the date itself is highly emotive. That's it. There's no connection between 9/11. There's no connection between him and Al Qaeda. I hope.
No.
There's no connection between terrorism and what we're doing.
So no baggage coming along with that date you're picking there, buddy. None.
Yeah, I think he just chose some random date in the future. And if you're looking at a date in September, the 2 dates in September are Labor Day because it's the long weekend, and 9/11 because it's 9/11.
Yeah. So yeah, I just want to show you guys that and give you an idea of kind of where this is going right now. I don't know. I thought it was pretty corny myself. So I hope that it's not very effective with a lot of people, but at any rate, we're just letting people know what's out there. So anyway, before I close this out, guys, you guys have any parting thoughts?
Just one thing I saw pop in the questions, nothing to do with anything we're talking about tonight. We're talking about central bank digital currency, and is this really going to happen? Yeah, I'm afraid this is the direction a bunch of governments are moving. The Israeli government seems to be moving almost as fast as China in the idea that they want to ban cash transactions and force you to use digital currency all the time. If our government goes to a full-on central bank digital currency system, any concept of freedom as we know it, gone. So we're going to talk more about this. Jeff and I are going to do a show on it later. But yeah, it's a problem. We're paying attention to it. We're going to talk about it. And to me, it's an incredibly dangerous idea. End of comment. We'll talk more about it.
Yeah, sounds good. Tom Marazzo?
Saxon, you're up. Okay, me. Yeah, I don't really want to come off like I'm plugging what Drew has done on the Canada Divided. I think he wants to release it tomorrow, and he did a great job on it. He's going to do the next part 2 of that in the coming days. But I think he did a great job, and it's going to really help, I think, a lot of the viewers understand the media, the social media, and sort of all of the different factors that we have going against us as people that are, fully awake to what's going on around the world. So I think he put a lot of time and energy and a lot of good content together. He's been working on that for quite some time and researching it. So I think I'm hoping that people will go on to the YouTube channel and watch that link. It's called Canada Divided, and it's what Drew had produced. And he did a great job. I watched it 2 days ago, and it actually got me thinking about a lot of stuff. And I already knew all the stuff that he had shared before. Mm-hmm. So part of what Drew did was kind of motivating me to look at a couple other things as well. So I hope everybody looks at that and then maybe starts to say, okay, how does a guy like Marcus Ray tie into what Drew is talking about with 5th generation warfare? Mm-hmm. Because this is 5th generation warfare is about information. And so I think that's a really, really strong, powerful connection that it applies to everything. But Marcus Ray is a great example of how this all comes together.
Yeah, right on. And what was I going to say there? But I'll just start over the Sax.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to kind of reiterate what Tom Marazzo said. So I got to see a lot of what Drew was doing while he was working on it, and I saw the video. And it definitely will start to put a lot of things together for people who might not be looking at things the way that we've been looking at it. It's going to, I've talked about the chessboard in the past. Drew puts all the pieces out there and tells you what's going on. And it's an excellent video. And I really do hope that people who are viewing this right now will seek that video out in the next couple of days, watch it and share it, because it is a real eye opener. It gets you thinking, like Tom said, and it's an important piece moving forward for people to have at the forefront of their minds, especially with all the news and misinformation that we're getting all the time. It's really going to help you parse all that out. So I definitely agree. Check that video out when it's available. Big time.
Yeah, I
And
think
it's a big deal. Sorry,
it's still
a
in
big
draft,
deal.
right? It's not like it's not published yet, but
I think he's putting it out.
Yeah, it should be just in the next couple of days. Yeah.
Yeah, but the big thing, Drew is extremely camera shy. Obviously, that's because he's Drew, right? He doesn't like to be in front of the camera, but the fact that he's actually going out and doing a full video on that kind of tells you about how important he views this. If he's willing to stick himself out there and do a video like this, because he is actually very camera shy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because he's not going to match up with his Tinder profile on this. I think that's what he's really worried about. So anyway, that's a plug for him because he's single.
Oh, yeah.
And I understand why now. Yeah.
We should take care not to slam him too hard while he's not here to defend himself.
He's upstairs. Yeah. Okay. I think on that note, we'll move along.
Yeah.
All right.
He's watching.
Yeah, right on. Okay, guys. I think that's all I got in terms of content here right now. So I'll wrap things up. But thanks a lot for being so generous with your time, guys. And appreciate you coming on as always. And all the troops out there, just stay frosty, stay safe. And always have kind of a cynical mind, I think, when you're looking at this kind of stuff. And really take a minute to kind of consider what's motivating people. Anyway, that's all I have for now.
Awesome.
Cheers.